Hello and welcome to Sex on the Bus podcast. I'm Marcella Motivates.
And I'm Chrissy G.
Whew, it is hot today.
It is a scorcher.
It
It
is
really is.
absolutely scorchio, but here we are on a bus
Indeed.
doing a podcast.
In the middle of the countryside.
In the middle of the countryside. It is beautiful. But yeah, as I said, we're called Sex on the Bus. This is our first ever podcast together. It's my first podcast in general.
Ever.
And I guess this is just a little introduction as to who we are and why sex on the bus. Because we're not actually having sex on the bus.
No, that's not that's nothing we've discussed yet.
Not yet. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a background on why we feel this is important and what we would like to do from this.
Yeah, exactly. So, what has made you want to embark on this journey of discovering and discussion of sex and all things, body positivity and confidence and things like that?
Yeah, I think on reflecting back on my life, kind of thinking what I learned growing up about my body, about sex, I find that quite interesting in terms of like I wasn't particularly girly in some ways, and that was fine, but how I felt later on coming into teenage years was quite interesting. Also just like relationships, sort of coming into relationships and then, kind of forming yourself after that as well, how impressionable you are when you're quite young. And that works quite well in all of those topics as well.
Of course,
I just think also like the discussion of sex with young adults as well can be such a grey area.
Yeah, because you're a teacher, so obviously you have to kind of discuss that with teenagers and young. What ages is it that you teach?
Yeah, 11 to 16.
So gosh, they're
really
like crucial
important time.
ages. Yeah.
And that's it. And you feel like they're quite young, and I think I felt quite young at 11, but actually not everyone's the same. And the questions that are asked and covered, I don't know, and what I think people feel like they can and should talk about is kind of not set. Well, that's the thing; it is too set in stone, actually. And I think that causes then issues because then people go out and research, and if you put sex in the internet, you're going to come out with some quite interesting things, and maybe quite damaging things. So I think it's quite important that we discuss it, so people have a great start point. To kind of build their own confidence as well. I think when you're not sure on something, that's when you're not confident, are you? Then
so it's a bit of a journey of like self-discovery as well, so that you can kind of use that knowledge to help to educate other people and feel more kind of confident in that kind of thing, and get different perspectives and sides to share rather than it always being so black and white and so set in stone. I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm soon to be mum as well, and
congratulations, little baby. It's amazing.
It is really exciting, to be honest, but it's made me realise just through a lot of discussions recently, like how little not how little I know, but also what opinion I have about certain things. And I think it's really important if you're, like I said, teaching other people or a little one, how to be open-minded about this. And the only way I can be sort of open about that is by knowing like both sides too. Or it's not always both, is it?
But especially like having like a girl as well and being a woman and talking to them about the things that we are talking about. And I think it seems as though we feel as though it's inappropriate to talk to like younger children, not even just girls, boys as well, about sex and puberty, and if we talk to them about it, that means they're going to go and do it. It's like, no, they need educating from a young age, because I needed that. I would have really loved to have had that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think sex still in this culture is seen as such a taboo, and there's still so much stigma surrounding it, and things like body hair, pubic hair, body image and self-love and things like that. It's something that people don't discuss openly enough.
No, definitely.
But I think, like you said, like bringing a child into the world is an amazing thing, that you've thought, okay, I want to educate this child as much as I can and make them feel like they can come to me without judgment and like openly discuss like things like puberty and growing up and periods and contraception and things like that with you. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything's got to be better than the cartoon I watched with all the red crayon for periods when
what?
Yeah.
Red crayon?
Yeah, I mean, one kid even ran out and was sick, and I thought, well, you wait
Oh,
until
for God's sake. But that's like, honestly, I feel like, because I remember sex education, and I know you've taught it, but from when I was at school, I remember the teachers being so weird about it, and then that rubs off on you. As a kid, you're so unaware of things, and you're ready to learn, and like a little sponge and ready to soak things up. So if you see an adult acting so awkwardly about something, you're going to think, oh no, this is wrong, this isn't right. So it's like, yeah, like you said, to have somebody approach the situation like, right, we're going to talk about this now, dead, ready to go, informative, that would be so much more beneficial.
Yeah, that's it. I think, when you're starting to like piece things together because something's been told to you in a bit of a cryptic way, or just even like, obviously the biology side of it is really important to know, but the emotional side as well. Like,
absolutely,
we teach a lot of young people about abusive and toxic relationship, well, or grooming maybe.
right?
But like, is that leap from there and biology, is that actually met? So is that even confusing? Like,
Yeah,
so maybe they don't understand why that is still wrong, because they don't really understand how you can be intimate. It's just actually about intercourse and reproduction.
yeah, it is.
So how could you understand the emotional repercussions if you've never maybe even been in a relationship or know that? So I think that's even interesting to talk about.
Massively. I mean, I think that in itself has so much to do with sex and relationships, the emotional side. And like you said, I remember literally seeing a diagram of an erect penis and then like this really shitly drawn vulva that was literally just like two little colons and like some dot in the middle, or I don't know, it was just shit. And it's like, right, well, when a man's aroused, this happens and this happens, and then you make a baby. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, right. And what else? There's never any talk or discussion about feeling comfortable around people, or like kissing, or starting off, foreplay, things like that, because that is a massive part of sex and the emotional connection that you share with somebody. So to literally go from like, right, you start your period at some point, and then at some point you're gonna have sex and then be pregnant, and that's that. It's like, okay, that's what, like, that's so lacking in like information, and it's so important that we kind of fill the gaps, I guess. So, but I mean, have you noticed like an improvement in the classes that you guys do compared to when you were at school?
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I just felt really clueless. Like, growing up, I just thought I was learning everything fresh and new. I mean, obviously, the basics, but I do think it is better at school now. Depending on the teacher, I mean, I try to be quite open, obviously professional at the same time, but I feel like the students, if you got to trust young people as well, and they'll ask, they might ask a few silly questions, but then after the awkwardness is gone, they're probably quite interested. I guess it's human nature anyway, so it's normal for us to be curious.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much as well. I think the bit that I think is so important about talking about this is because there's so, like I said, about the grooming, but also mental health for young people. So they talk about sexting and all these, and like Snapchat and social presence.
Gosh.
So it's quite interesting to think about, how the education of sex could, also go into these areas as well.
That's so interesting. I never even thought about that though.
Yeah,
it's
we
like
have massive days about that.
Like the Instagram and Twitter. Twitter's completely uncensored, so you can access any kind of porn. But sex now isn't just what possibly it would have been when, in our grandparents' generation, where you'd kind of court with somebody for a bit and like hold hands, and then you'd go on a couple of dates, and then like, I don't know, I'm generalizing here, but it was very kind of like what seemed to be quite simple. Whereas now there are so many elements, like technology's involved. So there's sending nudes, like Snapchat, feeling pressure of kind of having to compete with other people online, show your body online or not. Getting stigma for choosing to do that, but also being maybe too young to kind of being able to deal with it mentally, because it's a lot of pressure. So there's so many avenues where it's like, so many things need to be addressed. I think the whole education system needs to be kind of like maybe reworked a little bit to kind of cater to new technology and social media and stuff.
Yeah, well, this is it. And if we're doing like a traditional sex ed still, or maybe slightly less traditional, it's still not kind of meeting with these things that they're facing. So again, I guess that comes back to that emotional feel as well, where they, they don't know, because so maybe they think like the sending of the nudes is part of that attraction, or they should be doing that to, secure a nice boyfriend.
Yeah.
But then when everyone in the year has seen that picture and they can't take it back, it's really upsetting.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, there's the sex and there's also that body image thing as well.
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
growing up, like learning to be confident in who you are as well.
Because I feel like it's so conflicting, because there'll be like Kim Kardashian and really sort of high profile celebrities that are, massively kind of like hypersexualized and things like that. And growing up, kids will see that potentially and aspire to that. But then equally, there is also a great side of social media where different body shapes and body types and body hair is celebrated as well. So it's making sure that they're aware of all areas, and that, okay, if you want to look like that, fine, but also don't forget that it is also okay to have body hair, to let you don't have to shave your leg hair, you don't have to feel like you have to be attractive to the opposite sex or the same sex. It's ultimately trying not to compare yourself to other people. I think that's what it comes down to, but it's difficult to do that and instill that into somebody from a young age, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think growing up for me, well, not even I think, like, I definitely thought that sort of body hair and sort of body image was kind of dependent on what the guys would probably want. Not necessarily if I actually went in for that or if I was just being me, but that is kind of how I felt. But sort of growing up and also meeting a nice partner who's open and talks about it, which I never really had, it's really nice to know that you can just be who you are. And actually maybe a lot of people don't even think like that way, and that preconception already is damaging enough. It's like this, that, again, it's the cloud of what you're thinking the other person wants, but they might think it's beautiful, having hair, might think it's beautiful not having hair, or everyone has different like preferences or is attracted to different people. And so it's being confident for you because you'll find someone
and also like
too.
And now you have you feel as though you've reached a point where you found somebody that really like celebrates you and you feel comfortable with. So I guess that's an amazingly positive thing, that you feel like now you're at a point where you're really ready to like embark on that kind of journey, and can truly like express yourself. And also, like you said, how you are like sort of awkwardly open, embrace that as well, because there's nothing wrong with that.
That's it. I think awkwardly open comes from my like discovering, like trying to work out myself as well, because I'm 36 and it's just like, but I'm still kind of getting to grips with what I'm comfortable with. I feel quite happy within myself, but like we were talking earlier about even like social presence and like contouring makeup, I was like, the whole new generation thing of this makeup was like, whoa. And even I suddenly thought, I thought I felt all right, but now I'm like, oh, that's intriguing.
Exactly.
And even sort of trends and like different things coming through can actually even make you reconsider.
So it isn't just like teenagers or children. You can be any age and be affected by this. And I think as like women, it's important to address that. I think for me, when I was growing up, I was quite, and like while I was going through puberty, I was quite sort of insecure. And I remember like me and my friends would always compare like body parts together and be like, oh, I don't know if that looks, is that normal? I don't think that looks right. And I remember just ripping myself to shreds for years. And I think, well, until I was sort of about 15 or 16, and then I was started to kind of get comfortable and think, okay, no, this is all right. And then when I started like having sex, I realized that it's really important to be like true to yourself and be open and do what you want to do. So then when I did become more open and confident about having different sexual partners and being, open about my sexual experiences and having like pubes and things like that, I kind of became known for that amongst like friendship groups and stuff, which is great and amazing. And I see that very much so now as a positive thing. But then you also question yourself as well. And I've been through stages where I'm like, God, like, am I putting myself out there too much? Like, is this right? And then you feel sort of feelings of guilt about having sex with multiple, like, different people, or do I look right still? Like, do I look attractive? There's so many things that go through your mind constantly as you like evolve and grow as a woman. Which is why I think it's just so important to address these things and not be afraid to, and feel comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I think sometimes this might be the awkwardly like open thing as well. But in growing up as well, I was often goofy about things. So I'll just be like, oh yeah, like laugh it off, like, oh, I don't know if I've got a mustache, or who cares?
Yeah.
And but like, yeah, okay, it was funny, and I probably was comfortable in a sort of cosmetic way almost, because I wasn't really, I guess, because later in life, that kind of had an ongoing effect then. So I was maybe not confident in certain places, in certain ways. So maybe like then I would think, oh God, being naked. I'm like, oh, I don't know actually. Or someone saying like, oh, you could do with being a bit slimmer, or and then I was like, whoa, now it's suddenly like it does matter to me, and then the goofy had kind of like shadowed maybe that exploration or confidence, like how you said. I mean, I'm making assumptions now, but if you don't have to then think about that, you can then concentrate on being confident, or because you're happy with that. So that is it is important to explore and not always cover up. And that's something maybe for young people, or for anyone really.
I think
it's not even
for
young.
anybody, because like people sort of reached out to me on Instagram and said like, you seem so confident, you're so happy. How can I kind of like achieve this? How are you so comfortable with your body? And it's like, there are days when I'm definitely not, and I think a lot of in the past maybe I've tried to cover that up through appearing to be confident and having this quite sort of big persona and things like that. But funnily enough, I feel like I have actually sort of achieved that. It's almost like a fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
but that is a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there have been points where I have questioned myself, but then you're constantly developing and learning, and I've realised there's nothing wrong with being single. There's nothing wrong with being in relationships. There's exploring different avenues in life and stuff, and like finally reaching a point where you feel comfortable in yourself is really hard, and that doesn't happen overnight. But if we can try and kind of encourage people from a young age to start thinking in that way and being aware of difference between like body types, and it's okay to do certain things, it's okay to have sex, it's okay not to want to have sex. I think that's really important.
Not having that pressure of conforming to anything, because there's plenty of that going on in everyday life anyway. Like we said, advertisement, or like just community, or
absolutely. So I think it's great, because I think we're both very similar on certain things. Other things we're quite different on. So it's really important to have difference in opinion and share it, and have kind of like a safe space, and also encourage other people to do the same as well, and hopefully reach out if they have any questions or comments or anything, because it's so important to just create discussion and make people feel comfortable enough, and just kind of like we said in the introduction, like destigmatise things that are considered like taboo, like certain fetishes and sex in general, So I guess that's what we're here.
That's it. To discuss and open that dialogue. And try and just keep it open. Get rid of those clouds. So
well, there we go. That was wow.
We got deep in that discussion.
We
but
did.
I'm excited for people to hear, knowing that, like hearing our story and our like discovery along the way, because there's going to be some good stories.
Oh, there's going to be some amazing stories
which will help, and I hope people can reflect on.
Absolutely. It's a constant journey, but it's awesome to start somewhere. So our podcast, Sex on the Bus, it's got its own Instagram page that we're posting on, but we'll also be posting it on my YouTube as well, Marcella Motivates, and some podcast sites too.
It'll be on all major platforms, so iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, and a lot more.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to us chat, and hopefully join us again soon for the rest of the journey. Episode 1.
Yay.
Tune in.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.